we always talk about having a data-driven business. What does that look like? We want to make decisions based off of data, right? Now, we don't take the gut out of it. We say we make business decisions, 2 parts data, 1 part gut, right? Because we want to honor our instincts and our gut, but we want the majority to be looking at data. Because I don't know about you, Lona, but so many times my gut has failed me many times, especially in the hiring process, right? It's like, oh, this person's going to be awesome, right? And I didn't do my due diligence. And of course, it ended in heartache, right? But the same thing comes with business. If we're just going everything off a gut, you might be right sometimes, but you're going to be wrong a whole lot. And that's really going to cause your business to suffer.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way. Welcome back to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. And I am back with one of the smartest guys in chiropractic. I love hearing him speak. He is like so disciplined, organized. That's what my perception of you anyways, Dr. Erik, is like methodical. And we're going to have a methodical conversation this morning. And most of us need to probably listen to this 3 times and really squeeze this one. So welcome, Dr. Erik DeMartino. You're the tallest guy in TRP, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. At least on the coaching end, for sure.
Yeah, on the coaching end. Yeah, that's right. And so you've seen him at probably all immersions at this point. You were just down under, right, for one of them as well?
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I got to go to Sydney, Australia, and I got to join the team down there and speak to a bunch of awesome Aussie docs. And so that was a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I want to go down there sometime. That would be super fun.
Definitely.
All right. Well, we're going to talk about metrics today. So, Dr. Erik, why do you feel like this is an important conversation, especially for our younger docs or our docs that are in the season of building their practice? Like, why is this important?
Yeah. When I work with a lot of docs in the build phase, what I typically find is they're just passionate chiropractors. They just want to serve people and help people. And but they, as everybody does, they run into challenges in business and they try to problem solve. But the problem is if you don't have metrics, you don't know what's going well and what's not going well in your business. And I'll talk to some docs, they're like, I don't like stats, I don't like measuring things. I just know if I serve enough people that I'll be, paid back handsomely. And while that's true, we want to optimize that, right? We want to be able to serve people better. And that's what metrics really let you know. It lets you know what aspects of the business are you doing really well, individually and as a team, and then what are areas for improvement. And as coaches, I know you know this, Lona, as coaches, it helps us so much with working with clients when we have stats, because we have insights into what, again, they're doing very well and the areas for improvement. Whereas when you don't have stats, you're just guessing, right? And like Dr. Franson always says, when you're guessing, you're stressing. And so we want to take the guesswork out of it and have objective criteria for how well our business is running in every single aspect. So one of the things because a lot of docs initially are like, well, what do I measure? Like, because every doc measures the basics: patient visits per week, new patients, and collections.
I don't know if every doc does, but hopefully you have at least got those. Yeah.
I think most of them know how many patient visits a week, how many new patients. I mean, maybe they're not tracking that, and hopefully the money coming in, right? At least that's the starting point I typically see. But that just scratches the surface. There's so many other things that we have to know to really assess our business. So one thing that to give some insight to docs is you have to look at your patient's experience in your office as a journey, right? From day 0 phone call, the new patient phone call, all the way through hopefully day 3,000 that they're a patient in your office, right? And that's a journey they're on. And we need to measure every step of that journey so we see how many people are making it through. Because I know, and I'm sure you're the same way, Lona, is that my goal for a new patient isn't just to get in the door on day 1. My goal is not for them to say yes on day 2 or to make it to the first re-exam. My goal is that they become a lifetime family wellness patient. That's the goal for every single person we come in contact with. So we have to reverse engineer that back from year 5, back to year 4, 3, 2, 1, to month, 10, 8, 6, down to month 4 at the end of the initial care plan, all the way back to day 1. So we have to measure every single step of that process. And what I want to know personally is, where am I losing people?
Mm-hmm.
right? We all lose people, right? Nobody retains everybody,
Right.
but we want to know where in the process are we losing people, because that gives us really good insight into what we're doing well and what we're not doing well.
Yep.
Right? So TRP talks about attraction, conversion, retention. So
Mhm.
attractions, getting people in the door, right? Get marketing, getting people to know you exist and want to come in and see you. And
Yep.
then after they come in on day one, now it goes into conversion. And conversion simply helping them understand their problems, helping them own that, and then choosing to accept your care recommendations and start care. And then there's the retention, building values that they choose chiropractic care long term. Well, we need to have metrics around all of those. And
Mhm.
so we know exactly what we're succeeding at and what we're not.
Mhm. That's so good. And even, when we think about breaking that down, to your point, is like if you have high level stats, you still, yes, that's better than not having anything. However, I know for me, one of the things that I was taught to keep was PVA, right?
Mhm.
Oh, and so you can pat yourself on the back. Oh, my PVA is like I don't have a pain-based practice but that number doesn't tell you very much about your actual process, right? And that
Mhm.
was a huge epiphany for me is like where I thought people were leaking out at based on my PVA and where they were actually leaking out at were two very different things,
Mhm.
which some of you are probably like, what's PVA or how, but that's a retention stat, but that alone didn't tell me much about where my team and myself needed help, basically strengthening our communication and
Mhm.
how we led people through the trajectory of care. So for us, we thought, oh, the average person's leaving at 80 visits or 72 visits or whatever. It was like, no, actually, most people are leaving in their first care plan because they didn't start strong, which I think is a lot of people's issues, that you actually have people who are staying with you hundreds of visits, but you also have more people leaking out in the beginning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so PVA, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's patient visit average, which is how many visits does the average patient have in your office, right? Some will have two, some will have 1,000, right? What's the average? And so that's an important stat for those that don't know what that is. But like you said, that just tells you what the average is. It doesn't tell you when you're actually losing them.
Right.
So, some insights, for example, and what helps me not only as a coach, but also helps me as a business owner. I have two practices. I have 6 associate docs. And so to help me coach my team members, the ones that I work with, is looking at when those people fall out. Because you get great insight in that, right?
Mhm.
Some people, if they fall out on month 2, then
Mhm.
oh, they felt better and they didn't see the value for actually correcting subluxations and actually receiving long-term care. So you know what you have to work on with those docs. But
Yeah.
what you'll also see is like, so in TRP, we have what we call the first 4, right? The first 4 months is initial intensive care. And at the end of that first 4 months, we do our first re-examination, like the full re-exam, what we call the R4.
Mhm.
And what I'll see sometimes is that docs will get them to the R4, they'll get them to reconvert. And at that point, they're like, they're in. They get it, they reconverted, they understand wellness. I can kind of slow down on the education. And what you'll find is that when you start seeing patients drop out 2, 3 months after the R4, it's because we started to become friends. We started talking about the weather and sports, and they lost focus. They
Mhm.
lost the reason why they had to continue care.
Right.
Those are the insights. If I see patients dropping off at month 6 or 7, I know exactly what that doc is doing,
Mhm.
right? So those of you listeners out there, this is the value you get from statistics.
Mhm.
So in the build phase, typically it's you guys are the owner operators, right? You guys are the ones who are doing everything, and that's an awesome season to be in. But in time, you may eventually get to the point where you have associate docs.
Mhm.
So for this conversation now, it's like, how do I, as the owner and the sole doc, how do I measure my own success in each aspect?
Right.
Right. And then eventually it can be, how do I measure, my team members' success in those aspects? We always talk about having a data-driven business. What does that look like? We want to make decisions based off of data, right?
Mhm.
Now, we don't take the gut out of it. We say we make business decisions, 2 parts data, 1 part gut, right?
Mhm.
Because we want to honor our instincts and our gut,
Mhm.
but we want the majority to be looking at data. Because I don't know about you, Lona, but so many times my gut has failed me, many, many times, especially in the hiring process, right? It's like, oh, this person's going to be awesome, right? And I didn't do my due diligence, and of course, it ended in heartache, right? But the same thing comes with business. If we're just going everything off a gut, you might be right sometimes, but you're going to be wrong a whole lot. And that's really going to cause your business to suffer. So
Yes.
what's great about having database businesses, especially as you start adding team members, is now we understand brutal facts, good or bad. We understand exactly what we're doing well, what we're not doing well. And
Mhm.
so it takes the emotion out of it.
Mhm.
I before I had statistics or I did them well, if I thought a team member was underperforming, it was my gut instinct. And so I would talk to them and say, look, person, you're underperforming. And they would say, I think I'm doing just fine.
Mhm.
Well, who's right? Who knows? We have no
Right.
data. That's a
Right.
really hard way to manage a team when you're just doing it off a gut. And that's going to cause a lot of, animosity towards each other. But
Right.
once you have data, now it's like brutal facts, good or bad, right? If the data is great, hey, high five, awesome, you're crushing it, good job. But if it's not doing well, we get past all that emotion and opinion. It's like, okay, here's where we are. We're struggling in this aspect. Okay, great. Let's have a conversation. How can we get better at this? Because
Mhm.
that's really what it's all about. It's not about having data to scold people. It's saying,
Right.
hey, we need to get better in this area. Let's work together so we can all be better. Right. But
Yes.
when you have the data, now you have that transparency and that visibility into understanding what you're doing well, what you're not doing well.
Mhm.
Now, sometimes it can be daunting, right? It can be, I got to put spreadsheets in, I got to track this stuff. I get it, right? I was never a big fan of data before either. I just didn't want to deal with that. I was busy getting new ones and seeing patients. But there's nothing the only thing you'll hate more than spreadsheets is not knowing your business.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a painful thing to just keep delaying that.
hmm
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So there's some metrics that I would challenge our listeners to start to measure. And so, like I talked about the patient journey, we talk about attraction, conversion, retention. So
Mhm.
when you're looking at things like attraction, most people I would think measure how many new patients they get, right? But what they don't necessarily measure is how many of the ones that schedule actually show up.
Mhm.
Right. So we call day zero when people make the appointment, either by the phone or by internet, however they're making their appointment. That's when they become a lead, right? They've scheduled an appointment, but they have not come in yet.
Mhm.
That's day zero. Then
Mhm.
day one is when they actually show up for their new patient appointment. So that's what most people measure. Day one, how many shows did I have? But most people don't measure what we call the show rate. What
Mhm.
percentage of people that made the appointment show up? This is a huge insight
Mhm.
because, you might be like, oh, I have 20 new patients a month. Okay, great. How many scheduled? I have no idea. Well,
Mhm.
if 22 scheduled and 20 showed up, that's pretty good, right? Not every new patient schedule is going to show up. What
Right.
if 40 scheduled and 20 showed up?
Right.
That's a huge issue. You're losing people. And so
Right.
it's like, okay, if we measure that stat, we know it's an issue. Let's problem solve around that now. Now that
Mhm.
we have visibility, are we not sending them appointment reminders? Are we making appointments too far out in advance and people are forgetting? Whatever that is, now we can problem solve as a team and actually fix that. Because if you're
Or
getting
is where we're getting our new patients the issue, right? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's a simple stat that most people just don't measure, but it gives you great insight.
yeah.
And then we have our day one to day two stick rate, we call it. How many people that come in for day one come back for day two, right? Not everybody does. Should be the vast majority, but not everybody does. But we want to know what that stick rate is. And if it becomes an issue, then we can problem solve around what are we doing wrong on day one?
Right.
But again, if you're not measuring this, you have no idea,
Mhm.
right? And then you have your day two conversion rate, right? We're in the conversion metrics now, and what percentage of people are accepting your care recommendations and starting care? And we just did the conversion retention immersion a few weeks ago in Orlando,
Mhm.
and we talk about what a true conversion is, right? So somebody just getting adjusted once doesn't count as a conversion, at least not in my book, right? It's people that commit to your recommendations for care, they commit to a care plan. What percentage of those people, right? In TRP, we have standards for all this. So
Mhm.
what's nice is you're like, well, I can measure these stats, but I don't know what's good or what's bad. Like, how do I know? Well, TRP gives you standards. These are what you want to shoot for. So now that you have the data, you can say, are we hitting that standard or are we not? Right. So
Right.
we typically shoot for about 80% conversion rate. Okay, great. Now I have something to measure that against. Now I can know if I'm doing well or not.
Right.
Right. I've talked to many docs. I'll start a conversation with them, and they may be looking to possibly coach with TRP, and I'll start asking them questions. And the common one I want to get to, because I know a lot of docs struggle with this, is how are your conversion rates? And I'll hear, oh, they're good, doc, they're good. Okay, well, what's your conversion rate? I have no idea, but I know it's good.
Mhm.
Is it? And then once you dig in, we typically find out it's not good. And they're actually surprised at how poor it is. Like, oh my gosh, I never would have thought it was that bad, right?
Right.
That's the value of having statistics.
Yep.
So I can give you an example. I just talked to a doc a few months ago, and he had some stats. I was really impressed. And his day two conversions were like 82, 83%, which is awesome. And then he measures what we call R4 conversions, which is how many people that make it to the end of the first 4 months, then reconvert to corrective care, which is the second care plan. And he was in the 80s for that too, 80 some percent, which just so the listeners know, the standards for your day two conversion and your R4 conversion should be 80%, right? That's what we want to shoot for.
Mhm.
And so he was above both of those. But he's like, doc, my practice isn't growing. I just don't understand.
Mhm.
So I asked him, what is your R4 stick rate? And he goes, R4 what? I
Mhm.
said, what's your R4 stick rate? So for your listeners out there, the R4 stick rate is what percentage of people that say yes on day two actually make it to the R4?
Hmm.
regardless of whether they reconvert. How many that said yes and started on day two actually make it through that initial 4-month care plan? He
Right.
had no idea.
Hmm.
So we started going through and we started measuring his stats. And the goal for this metric is 80%. We want 80% of people that say yes on day two to make it to the R4,
Yeah.
and then 80% of them to say yes to the next care plan. So we went through and he measured his. He was, I forget what it was, like 35% was his R4 stick rate. So all he was measuring was we're crushing on day two conversion, crushing R4 conversion, but 2/3 of our patients are dropping out in the first 4 months.
Right.
He was like, oh my gosh, he had no clue. So
Hmm.
immediately now he was able to start, implementing systems to create a better R4 stick rate. And as a result, his practice is just going to grow over time.
Hmm.
So without the data, he had no clue what he was
Right.
doing wrong. That's really the value of it.
And he was willing to do the work to get it in place, right? Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think as chiropractors, especially as us business owners, like we want to do everything we can to grow our business, to help more people. But a lot of us just don't know what to do because we
Hmm.
don't have insights, right? And that's really where TRP comes in, not just to help give you the data, but to coach you through that process.
Yeah. How to
And that's
get
why I
the
love,
data, how to use the data, how to have
yeah,
the team eventually bring you the data because they have to know how to get it. Yeah.
absolutely. And that's what I love when I can help my clients get these stats in place because it makes my job so much easier because now I have insight. I can lift the hood on their practice, be like, okay, I could literally never step foot in someone's practice. And if they have good stats, I know exactly what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, every step of the way. I can see their stats like you guys are doing this wrong on day two, or you're doing this awesome here at the products exam, but you're not doing this right at the R4. I can see all that without ever watching them actually in practice,
Right.
just based on their data. That's
Right.
really the value it provides.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So if someone's listening to this and you're like, I'm inspired, I'm a little scared to look, but I know I need to, what is a first step for them? First, we obviously encourage you if you want some help with it, join us because we can help
Yeah.
you. But let's say you're like, all right, I want to start collecting more of it. Like, is it something where you would encourage them every night at the end of the shifts? They're getting this data. How do you help people start to like tease this out for themselves?
Yeah, so we have something in TRP called Vital Signs, which is the most comprehensive statistical program I've ever seen, and it measures everything I talked about earlier. So I would say, obviously, get with TRP, and we'll give you the Vital Signs. We'll help actually even implement it for you.
Yeah.
But if they want to just try to do it on their own, get an Excel spreadsheet and
Mhm.
look at every point in that new patient journey, or I'm
Mhm.
sorry, in the patient journey, and start tracking it. I start tracking how many people scheduled new patient appointments, right? Just create a spreadsheet, put a name there, put the date that they scheduled. Okay, now we got that. And then when they actually come in for their day one, put that date. Okay, now we know that they came in. When they come back for day two, put that date. Did they say yes? Put a mark that says yes. So now you know they started care, right? When do they have their progress exams? When do they have their exams at the R4s? You're tracking it all along the way. And then if you use our spreadsheets, it automatically will give you the stats, which is obviously ideal, but you could try on your own to create those different models. But
Mhm.
again, you just want to start tracking each step of the patient journey, not just, collections are a very lagging metric, right?
Mhm.
Your collections today are not a result of what you did today. They're a result of everything you've done weeks and months prior, right? So it's like, hey, we had a great collection week. Well, that's great, but that doesn't mean the next one's going to be good, right? And so we want to look at these leading metrics, what we
Mhm.
call leading metrics, which are things that if we do these well now, it's going to lead to more collections a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now. Things like I talked about, getting new ones, converting effectively. So we want to know every single step along the way. So just so you have to visualize what that patient journey looks like in your office based on your systems and start tracking. How far are they getting along that journey? But at the very least, at least start tracking number of new patients, your conversion percentages, your retention percentages, like you talked about PVA. That's a valuable one that most people don't track. So that's a good starting point.
Yeah.
But like you said, Lona, the downfall of that is it doesn't tell you where they're dropping out. It
Mhm.
just lets you know how you're doing as far as creating a wellness-based practice, but it doesn't let you get insights into where you're losing those people.
Right.
But if people just start with that, that's a great start. But TRP can help you take it to a another level.
Totally. And Erik, you started the conversation with like a lot of chiropractors are all like super spizzed up about serving people, which is
Mhm.
great. When we say
Mhm.
a heart, head, hands, feet, like the
Yeah,
heart stays the same. Like you having the vision for like how lifetime family chiropractic wellness can make a difference for an entire generation. That's where it starts. And then this is just going to add to your ability to actually be effective at that, right? So I think sometimes people resist it. Like, I don't want to make it about the numbers. It's like, it's not about the numbers. It's actually about what you want it to be about. But if we have the data, we actually know how to steer it better, right?
exactly. Like
Yeah.
that example I gave with the guy who was killing it on day two conversions in R4s, but he was losing 2/3 of his patients in the first 4 months. That means those 2/3 of people are not going to receive long-term chiropractic
Right.
care. Right. So
Right.
he's not serving at the level he could be, but the
Mhm.
data let him realize, wow, I'm lacking on table talk. We discussed things with him. Table talk, he was lacking on. He wasn't doing effective progress exams. And now he's starting to do those. And guess what? He's serving way more people as a
Yeah,
result.
that's awesome.
Yeah. So it gives
Mhm.
you insight. That's what we're looking for.
Totally. All right. Well, Erik, if everyone's inspired now to get their data in place, like how could they reach out to you, schedule a strategy session, or just like, ask you a few questions? Where do you want them to find you?
Yeah, well, maybe you could put a link below for like my appointment booking link where people can book a complimentary 30-minute strategy session where I'm happy to sit down and kind of go through some of your challenges and help problem solve. You can also email me directly. It's Dr. Erik, DRERIC at theremarkablepractice.com. That's my email, and I always respond to that.
Or find them on the stage at the next immersion.
Absolutely.
All right. Thanks, Dr. Erik. That was great.
Thank you, Lona.
Hey everyone, please listen in for this next bonus interview of one of our remarkable success partners. They all help us help more people find the benefits of chiropractic. So listen on.
Hey everybody, welcome to this portion of the podcast. I am so excited to have Dr. Erik Kowalke, who runs one of the greatest chiropractic offices on the planet, along with being the founder and CEO of SKED with us. I always love partnering with companies that have a big vision. And that's one of the things that ever since, so I both as a TRP coach, I recommend SKED to a lot of my clients, and as a client of SKED's. So I've used SKED for years at this point after having gone through several iterations of companies who are there to send text messages to people, but SKED by far has outlived any expectation or outworked any expectations that I had from a company that does that as far as the messaging goes. But their customer service is amazing. Their purpose is amazing. And we just, Dr. Erik and I just both got back from a great immersion down in Orlando. And Dr. Kowalke had the opportunity to speak from the stage, and he really encapsulated what I want you guys to hear again, but he encapsulated this idea that SKED is not just a messaging service, but they're a service that is out there to further human health and further the mission of chiropractic. And so that's what I wanted to tee you up, Dr. Erik. I know that lion behind you means something. So fill our listeners in, and so those of you who are just listening, Dr. Erik is standing in front of a painting of a lion that he'll describe here.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Chris. My wife got this for me for my 40th birthday. So was painted by a lady. I think it took her like 5 months to paint it. And it's mostly black and white, but there's a little bit of color. And the color represents the population of the world that's under chiropractic care. And if you can see on the video, you can't see very much color. And we know chiropractic's impact and penetration on the worldwide level is not significant, or as significant as we would hope. And I think I love SKED and chiropractic and our office, and really everything that we do, my wife and I, is furthering the chiropractic mission and profession. And I don't think there's a better opportunity in the next 5 to 10 years to add more color to this black and white painting and influence people towards chiropractic in a positive way than there is with technology. And if you look at the history of chiropractic, we've communicated what chiropractic is almost the majority of the last 100+ years face to face with people. One person at a time, face to face. And we know through technology, I mean, we have 4.5 million or 5 million people in our database with SKED, like actual chiropractic patients. And we could, through offices, they could send a text message and 98% of them are read within 1 minute. You can just communicate at a whole other level. So we're just committed to creating the best technological solution. And I truly see in the next 5 years even, our availability of technology and what we can build advancing so fast that we can positively shift the perception of chiropractic, not only with people that are in our ecosystem, but even outside the ecosystem, almost to where I was talking with my wife earlier, all the stuff that happened in the 80s when the AMA tried to take down chiropractic, I think a lot of that negativity still carries over to people's perception of what chiropractic is today.
Yes.
So if we can use SKED and this platform and the resources to positively influence the public's perception of chiropractic, and we can create enough momentum behind that with technology that even if I'm not here, this thing keeps going and the public perception of chiropractic is that much better. That's going to help chiropractors and our profession and ultimately the health of everyone for generations to come.
Well, I love what you said there about expanding our reach in the population, which has not yet been significant, but all of us know how significant our care is to people who, as individuals, right? Everybody listening here, you, me, we've cared for people whose lives have totally been turned around with chiropractic. And so the individual impact we have is massive. If we can increase the depth at which we penetrate into the population with our messaging, then we can have so many more people having that same impact. And that's where, we really can change things. And so I love partnering with companies like you who are so innovative. And what I love about SKED is that you're a chiropractor. You founded this thing. You created it so your office could do better, right? Serve people better. And in the remarkable practice, we know that the arc of a patient's life cycle in a practice is from attraction to conversion to retention. And ideally that retention side is where we end up parking most of our patients, right? In that wellness and maintenance group. And your technology gives us the ability to easily do that, because the pain points that I hear from clients all the time is that we struggle with our compliance. And when we're struggling with our compliance, that means more phone calls to and from the front desk. And we just have a hard time with people remembering their appointments and so on and so forth. I know in my office, particularly when we used the system as you recommend the system gets used, which I'll let clients figure that out for themselves as far as how they want to use it in their office. But when we started using it to its full potential, our phone calls at the front desk went way down and our compliance percentage went way up. And, we say that a compliance percentage below 88, 87% means that your clinic can't grow very well from there. And our goal is 92%, and we oftentimes go above that because of the SKED technology. So talk with people here just about those sorts of things. What are the specific problems that SKED and the SKED platform solves for offices? Let's just start right there.
That's a big question.
Yeah, because you solve a lot of problems, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. So two thoughts came to mind as you were describing that. The first one, before we jump off of impact, just like what's the most real thing today that's happening? We have a goal and a mission to get 1,000 chiropractors to have 1,000 Google reviews.
Nice.
And not just a 5-star, nothing. We want an actual testimonial on your Google pages. That would be 1 million chiropractic testimonials on Google, which is going to be seen by all of the AI technology. It's going to be seen by everything. It's just positive SEO for the profession of chiropractic. So all of our tools that we build around and strategy around reviews is so much more than just to get a 5-star review. It's that 1,000 practices with 1,000 reviews. But from the show up rate and compliance, here's the pain points. Why doing it the old way doesn't work anymore. Nobody wants to answer the phone. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want you to call. And whoever's at your front desk that has to make missed appointment phone calls, they don't want to make the calls. So it's a lose-lose. Nobody likes doing it, and they don't like getting them. So that solution, there's got to be a better solution. And secondly, majority of people that are non-compliant aren't non-compliant because they don't want your care or they don't value your care. They're non-compliant because you're making it too difficult for them to fit your availability into their calendar. Most of us are only open 20 hours a week or something, right? And so we're asking them, yeah, come in, but now they got to come in and they got to fit them and their families day and agenda of coming in to your schedule, and everything's going on with them. So if you don't make it really convenient for them to do it, gone are the days where you can print off a 12-month calendar and they go put it up on the refrigerator and they come every, that they don't miss a visit for a year. That doesn't happen anymore. People want convenience. If you can give them the convenience of jumping on an app, seeing what times are available with which providers at which locations, and is it busy or is it not busy, and it syncs to their Google Calendar and their Outlook and their iCal calendar, that is super convenient. They can do it on a Sunday night at 11 o'clock, their Monday appointment's at 10, and they realize I can't go at 10 because my husband's got this thing going on. I need to come at 12:30 instead. Previously, they'd be a no-call, no-show, and they'd be like, well, I'm just not going to go tomorrow because I can't make it. And then your team's calling them and not getting a hold of them and leaving a voicemail, and then you have all this extra work. But now they just jump on the app, change the appointment to 12:30. That opens a slot up at 10. Somebody 10 minutes later has the same, but the inverse of that, and they move their appointment to 10 a.m. and your slots managing. It's like you have somebody working the phone system and managing it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You just don't have to do that anymore. And that's really where we're striving, which I think makes us unique, is not only do we want our direct clients of SKED, our chiropractors, to have a great experience, we want their patients to have a great experience and make it really convenient. And we put a ton of time and effort and energy into the user experience through the app side. We're committed to that being awesome, no matter which device they're using and how they use it. And that connection in turn helps the office make a bigger impact by reducing no-shows and improving compliance and ultimately getting better results for people. And in turn, more testimonials, and in turn, more Google reviews.
Absolutely. I love it. The word that keeps coming to mind is friction. You guys are like there to eliminate friction from all aspects. I mean, you're so right with nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore, and it's super convenient to pop out your phone and rearrange your schedule. Usually people are on their phone looking at their calendar anyway. My wife just did this morning. So we own our practice. We know our staff like they're our own family. And my wife's like, oh, my chiro appointment's at this time, but I really need it to be at this time. She pops on the app, changes her own appointment instead of calling our own staff, like that. And great. Now our staff at the office didn't have to take that phone call even from us. So it just works so well. So I would challenge any chiropractor out there to contact me with a company that does a better job right now than SKED at all of these things. And the other thing I love is that you guys are always innovating, because you have such a killer clinic over there in Michigan. Such a killer clinic that you guys are running into all the friction points that any clinic in the world ever would come into, and you're creating technology through the SKED app to help smooth all that out. So last thing is, hopefully people are inspired to like, okay, I will help more people and my people will be happier with our service. Hopefully we're inspiring people that SKED is the solution to that. And I want people to know, what does it really look like in transitioning to SKED? Like, how's that look? Not from the nuts and bolts of it, but just the basic steps of first you do this, then that, and then you're up and rolling with your everything.
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you don't know me, we have a higher health chiropractic in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So we have 5 docs, 2 locations. We see 1,500 a week between the 2 locations. We have almost 2,000 active patients coming and going every single month. And so I don't have time to spend onboarding new technology like virtually at all, So we designed SKED and built our team around doing as much for the chiropractors as possible. Like we just call it our concierge white glove service. So we set everything up for you. So if you're moving from a system or you're not using any system right now, our team will basically go through what problems are you trying to solve, and this is what we see majority of offices doing to solve those problems, and is this how you want it set up? And they'll set the whole thing up for you. So we're really hands-on in the entire onboarding process. If you need 3 calls or 5 calls, or you want us to talk to 2 different people, whoever runs your front desk and vice versa, we'll do that in order to get you the best solution. And I think what I love most about this is it pays off forever. There's probably some way to describe this. I'm not probably saying it right, but some things you invest in, like let's say you're doing marketing or something, and you create this whole big internal office campaign. Well, in 30 days, that campaign's over, and all the work you did for that's gone, and you start all over. With technology platform like SKED, all the work you put into setting things up and structuring it how you want is going to keep working and helping you forever. for infinity moving forwd. So it's work that you don't have to redo and start all over. Like every effort and thing that you create and put in there for drip campaigns to like educate all the settings, it just keeps building and bringing you value forever to come. Kind of like Google reviews. Somebody posts a Google review and that testimonial lives there forever. It's going to refer a patient 2 years from now or 3 years from now when somebody's searching. SKED technology is the same way.
Yes. Fantastic. So even reducing all the friction for the onboarding of it, you guys have already thought of it. And that's been our experience for sure. Another feature I want to throw out there that has been hugely beneficial to us and our clients is the SKED forms. So just so the listeners know, forms are built into the system, and you can create custom forms, or you can utilize the forms that have already been created, or you can have the SKED team make the forms for you. And then it just shows up as soon as a person submits them. There it is. The team can get it, whether that's your doctors or your new patient concierge or your front desk, whoever needs it. Upload it right into your EHR. It's so slick. Anyway, I could talk forever about what you do. Let's just get right to the point. Like now, okay, so how do people actually contact you? And I know that many TRP offices already know you. But just talk about how they get in touch and if there's any other way you want them to contact you.
Yeah, great question. So our main website is SKED, sked.life, no .com, just sked.life. On there's a button where you click to do a strategy call, and you can have the team tell them your biggest problems, your biggest pain points. In 15 to 30 minutes, they could say, hey, well, this is how we would solve it, and this is what we would do. You could see all the different use cases on there. You could see the pricing. We have different plans from $99 a month all the way up to like a full concierge service where we change your appointment reminders for you every single week. We change your missed appointment reminder, a whole bunch of really cool strategy stuff in there. And just some really cool, like you can do trivia in your office through text messaging. You can do smart reply with leads if you're big into like growing your practice and you want to generate a lot more leads, so many different things. So that strategy call helps you dial in on like, okay, this is your biggest pain points and how can SKED help you? And so that's what I would suggest. Go to sked.life, click on that button and schedule a time to talk to our team.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dr. Erik. So innovative, so impactful. We love SKED, and thank you for being a practice supporter, one of our greatest success partners that we've had at TRP.
Awesome. Happy to be here.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.